Lewis Hamilton is heading to Ferrari for the 2025 F1 season. That is the sensational news that was leaked overnight by Italian F1 journalist Pier Giuseppe Donadoni, co-founder of Formula Uno, who released the news on both his X account and on his Formula Uno website. And this is now being backed up by all the major news publications in the world of Formula 1 confirming this news as well. And this naturally would explain why Carlos Sainz has had trouble renewing his contract with Ferrari. And the reason behind all of this trouble Sainz has had is because it all stems from the sensational idea of Frederick Vasseur and John Alcon trying to bring Lewis Hamilton to Maranello, even after he's just signed a fresh renewal with Mercedes. But the difference with this contract is he has a clause in it which he can leave at the end of the 24 season. And although it's not clear if a final contract has been signed at this moment in time, it's understood that negotiations are at the advanced stage and is more than likely to be concluded by the end of the week. Before moving on, what do you all make of it watching this video right now? I think this is absolutely bonkers news, crazy news, but it's news that I am absolutely excited about. I've always personally wanted to see Hamilton in a Ferrari, so let me know down below in the comments. Ferrari have long been interested in Hamilton's services, but they've never been able to lure him away from Mercedes because naturally Hamilton felt Mercedes offered him the best route to success. But that now appears, off the back of having two very challenging seasons with them, no longer the case, and Ferrari are now very close to convincing him that it is the better place for future successes. This move would send shockwaves through the paddock, as well as the general F1 world. I mean, you've arguably got two of the biggest names in modern motorsport history, and they would be linking up to form a partnership on track and off. And alongside that, you would have the pairing of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton to contend with on track, as the other teams would, which in itself you could argue is right up there as easily one of the strongest driver pairings in the current field, let alone Formula 1 history. And thus this would be a massive boost for the Ferrari team from every single aspect. But what about a driver's perspective on this? Let's look at how this would look from both Hamilton's as well as Leclerc's POV. For Lewis, this is something he's always spoken about and has always, I suppose, had a flirtation in his mind about wanting to do at some point in his career, but never thought the opportunity would arise where it would happen. So I think with this now looking quite set in concrete regarding it, I think he would have jumped at the chance, and I think he wouldn't have done so if he hadn't have seen or heard or listened to insiders from both camps, and I'm talking about his Mercedes team and the Ferrari team, in terms of what they have planned for the future, as well as what is going on in terms of the 26 engine and the 26 car. I think that's where his mind is more focused on, and I think he must have seen something in what Ferrari have got planned and thought, you know what, I'm going to place my bets on Ferrari instead of Mercedes. It seems like perhaps maybe he's gotten a glimpse of the 24 car with Mercedes and seen it's nowhere near up to standard, and it's a long way from being anywhere close to where it needs to be. And this has swayed him in his decision. But I think there's also just the general romance side of things with what happens when it comes to Ferrari in general. I think every driver would love to have the opportunity to drive for the Ferrari team, and I think it's just too big an opportunity to turn down. And I think it would add another dimension to his already amazing legacy that he has in Formula 1. He went to McLaren, won the world title, then he went to Mercedes, put them on the map, and then if he was able to then win a world championship with Ferrari, the first one since Kimi Räikkönen, all the way back in 2007, that would be massive. And I think it would cement him within the top 2 easily as the greatest Formula 1 drivers of all time. And there is one more issue to bring up, and that's regarding Ferrari's policy of like a number 1, number 2 driver, which could be quite a contentious situation. Lewis would never ever go to a team if he was to be the number 2 driver. He would go with only having equal parity alongside his teammate, which in this case would be Charles Leclerc. And he would have full confidence in his ability to out-qualify and out-race him and outperform him over the course of a season. And there would be a lot of issues there if he wasn't given the opportunity to do so. And I just cannot see him joining the team without there being guarantees. And I think Ferrari would also know this as well from their side of things. If they were to bring Lewis on and not give him equal parity along with Charles, it would be a major issue for them moving forward and be a massive headache. So I think they themselves know if they want Hamilton, which is what it seems like they do, they cannot afford to not give him a fair crack at the whip, shall we say, which I think they would in their own mind have decided that themselves anyway. You don't bring Lewis Hamilton in to be the second driver of any team. He's always the number 1 driver or equal number 1 alongside Charles. And also it's an opportunity for Charles to study the data, the telemetry of Hamilton and see how he operates and how he galvanizes a team. And so there's a lot there for Charles to learn as well. And I think Ferrari maybe are very canny to that fact. And it could be a very, very smart decision to bring in Lewis. And then very briefly from Charles's point of view, it's a 7-time world champion. There's a lot to be learned, as I just mentioned. And if he was to out-qualify and out-race Hamilton in equal machinery, this would be massive for his, obviously, own internal ego and his own self-belief, but also to the paddock themselves and to the general F1 audience. This would increase his stock tremendously. And just the opportunity to go up against Lewis and have him as a teammate, I think is something most drivers that are very competitive but also have a self-assurance within themselves would not be afraid to have happen and to go up against. I think Lewis has been the measuring stick, and I think Leclerc would relish the opportunity to go up against Lewis. So that is the video, guys. Perhaps we will get some confirmation on this later today or Friday regarding this contract. But hey, this could all turn out to be absolutely journalistic crap. We will see. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you all in another F1 video.